Caucus Day in Iowa. In a couple of hours, thousands of Iowans will traipse to schools, churches, and homes to cast their votes in the Republican presidential race.
Yeah, and tonight, two political gurus have traipsed their way to Signal Hill. Democrat and former Missouri Representative Jason Grill, alongside Republican political strategist, currently at Bryan Cave law firm Annie Presley. We want to welcome both of you to our studios. Let's start. Annie, we'll start with you from the Republican point of view. Handicap this night for us. Who do you expect will punch their tickets for New Hampshire and beyond out of Iowa?
Well, the polls are all over the map, as you know, but I think what's going to happen is that Romney needs to take first or second, otherwise it's going to be an embarrassment to him since he took second the last round. And then we've got Ron Paul in third, likely to mess up the polling as we know it at this time.
Jason, how about you? Who do you think comes out?
If Romney finishes third, we're going to have a mess going into New Hampshire and South Carolina. I think what's going to be interesting to see is where Perry and Gingrich finish tonight. I think if Perry finishes ahead of Gingrich for fourth, I think that Perry will maybe become the heir apparent to battle Romney in the southern states. And I think that Ron Paul or Santorum, if they finish ahead of Romney, both of them, that's huge for the election as we go forward.
Annie, this one's for you and for Jason as well. Who, if they don't do well tonight, will definitely be dropping out? Rick Santorum has already said that he would, but he's kind of doing well in the polls now in a dead heat. So who might be dropping out and not making it to New Hampshire next week?
Well, it's probably driven by the polling tonight or the outcome tonight, as well as the amount of money these guys have in their bank accounts. And if they don't do well, perhaps Michelle Bachmann will not do well. Perhaps Newt Gingrich, who's been trending down because so much money has been spent against him in negative ads in the last 10 days. They could easily just give it up because they don't want to play anymore. But the likelihood is everybody's going to trump on to New Hampshire next week and then on to South Carolina because we've got two in the next 2 weeks.
I'd say Bachmann's out if she finishes last tonight. Also, we'll be interested to see if Bachmann, Perry and Gingrich supporters get to that caucus and say, oh, the Santorum momentum, and then do they go for Santorum then? You know, and then I think those people really falter and go low in the polls.
Interesting twist tonight. Iowa is an open caucus system. In other words, independents and Democrats can show up, register as Republicans, and vote. In fact, in 2008, one poll showed that 13% of caucus goers in Iowa were independents. Who benefits from that tonight? There's some school of thought that Romney and Paul perhaps benefit, depending on the turnout. What do you say, Jason?
I'd say Ron Paul. He's leading with independents in this Republican primary. I think in polling nationally, he's leading as the getting the most votes from independents nationally.
Annie, you agree with that?
I agree with that. I think Ron Paul is the guy who's going to get the college students who tended toward being independent. The weather is good today in Iowa, so that means everybody's going to turn out. The kids especially will turn out. And Romney is considered sort of a moderate conservative, and he will pick up that base. And then, of course, Santorum, who's considered the most conservative of all.
Also, Santorum, I read today, only spent $120,000 on ads and radio. So if he does win tonight, going forward, he's going to really have to start dialing for dollars, John, because he's going to be way behind with Romney and Gingrich's money and also Perry's money.
And looking ahead, some of them are already looking at advertisement in South Carolina and Florida, Newt Gingrich. Do you think the negative attacks that he's really ramped up in the last day is going to hurt him in Iowa? And then if that continues with the ads that he's going to be putting forth?
Good.
Well, if you're talking about the ads that have been run against Gingrich, they have definitely hurt him. He has dropped in the polls significantly. So what we know about negative advertising is that it can be run independently and it can be very, very effective. And that's what you're seeing with Gingrich now. And
Gingrich did call Romney a liar today. So, you know, we'll see how that plays out tonight in those caucuses.
He's really been on the attack today.
Definitely.
So
and I think that's going to help him in the long run because remember, we have two debates next week going into New Hampshire. So that's where Newt Gingrich is at his strongest. And I think if Romney does win tonight, all gloves are off in those debates.
Let me ask you this. If Romney wins tonight, there's a good chance he wins New Hampshire. If he wins both Iowa and New Hampshire, is this over early? Annie?
Could very well be. I think that if Romney does win tonight, he is likely to win New Hampshire. These are retail politics states where you go and meet people one-on-one. This will be a very, very strong signal to the folks who have not gotten in the game yet and those who are already in the game and playing hard for Romney. He will do extremely well in the months ahead.
Don't discount South Carolina, though, John, because South Carolina, I think, has picked the president from the Republican side many elections in the last 20 or 30 years, I think. So I don't think Romney's going to do that well in South Carolina as it sits now. So, you know, Gingrich or Perry might end up winning South Carolina. And then we just go through the long haul of other states where Romney's ahead in Florida. He just spent $1 million on ads today in Florida. He's going to South Carolina, I believe, this week. So he's looking towards the future, not just New Hampshire.
All right, Jason Grill, Annie Presley, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again tonight during the 9 and 10.
See how they did.
Yeah, with your predictions. Thank you.